Okay, my name is Jed Bendrix. I work in Wilmer, Minnesota at the regional hospital there, where I work as a nursing service technician and as a casual staffing clerk. So part of the job as a nursing service technician, I float the entire building, going between the ER, the OR, the ICU, mental health units, all the nursing units. And then I have to do do things like help if a helicopter comes in. I help with that. Take care of the morgue duties. Take care of general stores, central processing, pull items from there. Because I work 3 to 11 in the afternoon while everybody is shutting down. So then I take care of all the little nuances in the building after that.
And how did you get involved with CRV?
I went to a, I gotta stop and think here. I went to a RV conference hosted by Lynn Buchanan and Mel Riley in 2006, I believe it was at the Shakopee Minnewacan Sioux tribe held it, or was at their casino in south of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And Lori was there, and I believe Lori Williams and Teresa Frisch. And that's initially where I made contact with all of them.
And talk about your experience with taking a class from Lori.
Okay. Lori's, when I entered in, I had already had basic, advanced, or basic, intermediate, and advanced. So I was asked by my teacher at that time that I should go with Lori Williams because she was the best and that she could help me with my training. So I went with Lori, and she taught me med apps and beyond advanced to professional level of remote viewing and associated remote viewing. And there's another class or two in there, I can't remember offhand. And that beyond advanced class, I have to tell you, that was so fun. And I learned so much from that. And I learned so much about the little nuances and little things of remote viewing from Lori that it really crystallized in my mind and that what needed to be done as far as making for a really good session.
And did you have a skepticism or any doubts about CRV before you signed up with Lori?
No, but I had heard skepticism from a couple friends of mine. The reason I did not have skepticism is because I'd had prior experiences that were on the paranormal side of things. So I knew it existed. I just wanted to know how it worked. But my friends who were skeptical, that was the only hard part for me to get over, was their skepticism rather over my belief in it.
And how did you deal with that?
Oh, well, in some ways, to deal with it, you just do it politely, and eventually in your mind, you're hoping that you can show them someday, after you've been trained enough and have gone through it, that then they can become a believer in it. And that actually happened. I actually was able to show them after a while, and they now are believers in it. And some of them are interested in actually learning it, but they're always too busy when you get down to it and tell them you'll teach it to them or something. So they never.
What was your biggest takeaway after taking a class with Lori?
Oh, well, Lori's got such a warmth and candor about her and sense of humor. And she's got an ease of teaching it. Yet at the same time, she has a firmness about continuing on and not getting sidetracked by things. Her ability to see what's going on in the mind of the student is what's really key. She knows the nuances enough that she can look at a student where they're at and know what their troubles generally are, what their strengths are probably are at that time of development, and is able to help them get through that and teach them, give them the tools to overcome that and progress.
How do you use CRV in your daily life?
Oh, that is very interesting. I right now, after believe it or not, I better not say that. My mother had died recently on Halloween, and prior to that, I knew that she was dying. So I actually, something I had never done before, did a CRV session to contact family members who had already deceased, and sort of use it sort of as a mediumship tool to ask them to help with my mom's passing, because there was no way I was going to be able to stop her passing. It was pretty inevitable at that time. And I guess that would be one way I've done it. I've done it for other things, like right now I've bought some property and I'm developing it. I took some time to do a few sessions on which is the best route to develop that property without indebting myself or anything. And what would be the best design for me and things like that.
You have a science job, a job that's kind of geared toward gathering facts.
Well, my job, well, actually, my medical job is not, I don't have much to do with gathering facts there. In my staffing job, I would. And then in the other job that I have with the farm here, I have to do a lot of, because I do have a third thing. I own part ownership in this farm and I've taken care of this farm for many years when my mom owned it. So I have to gather a lot of facts there, if that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, can you turn your volume down just a little bit? I'm getting some feedback. I don't know, it might be my mic. We'll try.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, good. I think the point I was trying to get at is a lot of people think that things like CRV, which involve kind of a leap of faith, because you can't really, it doesn't make sense that we should be able to do the things we do with CRV. And I think a lot of people are surprised when people who have a science background or a job involving science and a belief in reality, only if there's proof, would be involved in CRV. Can you kind of talk about that and if you had to make that leap of faith?
I can relate to that in my work, because I have a lot of doctors I work with, and psychiatrists even, and nursing personnel who have either their bachelor's or master's degree in nursing. And some of them are very open-minded, and some of them are not, because they have that either very rational bent to things, or they're more they have a more subjective, look, there goes my dryer, a more subjective point of view, or lean that way. And I guess I've always leaned more towards the subjective aspects of things, simply because I've experienced the unknown or the paranormal myself. And I think that makes a big difference. People who have not experienced the paranormal very rarely can make that leap without having an experiential, or even having people who've talked about it. Unless it's personal to them, they cannot, their rational mind has a very difficult time accepting the irrational as they see it. Even though to a person who has experienced it, it no longer becomes irrational. It becomes more of a, how does this work mechanism? How does this, how can this be applied?
So what would you say to someone who has that mindset, that rational?
Well, actually, what I've become, a lot of these people, when they want you to perform and do the task for them. If you can remote view, then they have this idea that you should be able to read their mind, every number of the digit of the phone book or something. Or they don't quite understand that it doesn't work that way. But because of Hollywood and the news media, they're led to believe that. But they don't have any other point of reference. The only reference you can give them is tell them, if you want to, learn how to do it. Usually that will shut them up. But it's not a good way to shut them up, because a lot of times they think you're trying to be, you're just kind of, how should I say this? I know what I want to say, but I can't get the words. That you're almost sort of like pandering them, or not pandering, trying to just walk away from the subject by pushing it on them. But they don't want to own to it themselves. They don't want to, in our respect, they don't want to take the time to learn to do it. But in their respect, they're thinking, well, if you can do this, you should be able to do it on a dime. And they don't understand that.
Okay. So what would you say to someone who's on the fence about taking a CRV class?
Oh, take it. It's so worth it. It'll open your world, even if you're a skeptic, but not so skeptical that you're just going to debunk whatever. Even if you can do it, you find yourself doing it, but your mindset is so ingrained in a habitual mindset of you can't accept it. Don't bother them. Somebody who is truly open-minded about things, but is skeptical, it's going to open your world. And it's going to prove you one way or another. Excuse me. It's going to prove to you one way or another about what's the possibility with your mind and the greater the universe at large. And you'll find out that the brain and the mind are separate. They're two different concepts.
Let's see. Is there anything else you would like to add that we haven't touched on? Maybe specifically how Lori and her courses have changed your life?
Well, what I really like is I was brought up in a very conservative church. So, and you get this very dogmatic point of view. What Lori is really good at, though, and the way I was brought up, is you have these higher levels of ethics that you adhere to. And Lori has that. She keeps this very high level of ethics about what should be CRV should be used for. She reinforces that periodically. And I think that's very important, that things like it's a tool that should not be abused, but should be used to enhance the person and one's community and the world's life for the better. But not for what you believe it should be, but what for the greater good should be. Because sometimes what we believe might be in opposition to what the actual betterment is, even though we believe in our mind to be. Sometimes accepting that, and CRV usually can point to that after it's filtered through our own mindset. And I think if we stay to the ethics of things, that's where the best future for CRV is.